You can ring my bell, ring my bell, ring it, ring it, ring it. That's what happens when you hit subscribe on Spotify, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram, on all the social media outlets. That little bell icon, it's ringing it, and that'd be fantastic. But more fantastic than that is to share this. Share this podcast with a friend who needs it. Share it with a relative who's overweight and say, Dave Woods said, you better get your butt in gear. No, I'm just kidding. Don't say that part. They might take it the wrong way and then be uncomfortable holidays with your obese uncle. This is not meant to be pointed at anyone in particular. So if they don't like it, say it was James Woods said it, not Dave Woods, James Woods. Whole situation with commenting on Spotify, YouTube, social media is that it is great for the algorithm to put this out there and get that information out there, not just for UVU, but in her details, in his design, just Imago Dei in general, that whole umbrella. So leave a comment, definitely share it. And if you hit that angry face emoji, that actually spikes the algorithm really well because it's negative. And most people don't realize that, but it's been designed that you are curated with the bad stuff the more that you hit that angry face. So it really helps if you say, hey, Dave Woods is not funny. I don't like his jokes. He has a silly hat on. Do it. Say it. But the point is that you're still doing it on social media. So go ahead, talk trash all you'd like. I need it. All right. So where was I? It's not a joke. It's not a game. I think this is a game. You know what is not good is when you accidentally pick up a used tissue. It's not a game. Throw it out. That's gross. All right. When you are getting ready for the holidays, this is that question that my girl, Alma, i.e. the Steeler Rita, that's the arch nemesis to the Eagles. Not arch, but they're contenders for the state, but it's the other side of the state, so forget about them. She asked, how do you prepare for the holidays? So I'm going to do this in a two-parter. So I'm going to address it a little bit now, then address it a little bit later. And that'll be like a Black Friday deal, but it's free. All right. So here is preparation. You have to prepare like you would not believe if you set your goal. The hardest part is not having any idea what's around the corner. Like we all kind of let our hair down and say, oh, it's the holidays, I can do what I want. But that is game over for a diet. It's game over for a regimen. It's game over if you're doing the 8 weeks. So just to put it in perspective, when I had told you all about only the net positive of 5 pounds, or I should say the net negative, losing the 5 pounds, but getting closer to my goal, it was wrong. I actually lost 10. So I weighed in at 240.9, which is 5 pounds away from 235, which was that original weight that I hit when I lost 100 pounds. So I had dropped the ball by not taking my own advice and sticking with the next goal. And that next goal is 225. And when I get to 225, reassess, recalibrate everything to say, what is possible? What can I do right now? So you have a massive amount of food to take in that seemingly is without consequence, and you're with family, with friends. You know, it's the holiday spirit, first with Thanksgiving, or I should say first with Halloween, then Thanksgiving, then mentally checking out for the year. You know, you've done the fourth quarter, the end of the fiscal year is done. So bringing the new year, right? New Year's party after all those Christmas parties and all those Christmas cookies. Gotta eat those cookies. But that is game, set, match if you're doing 8 weeks. So my advice is to say, how badly do you want that goal? and then know what you're getting yourself into when those parties start happening. The secret to the success for not for thinking I just lost 5 pounds, but really it being 10 pounds, was I started doing the OMAD. So that's 1 meal a day. 1 meal a day, still working out, still working, still unpacking, still doing everything, the daily demands of life. And I think the thing that I should have known was a little bit different, was that the recomposition part, it felt great. And all of a sudden, it wasn't that hard to postpone the meal. So little aside, definitely started drinking coffee again, right? That was the little touch of that was necessary for how strenuous and demanding it was. So for me, I'm actually pretty sensitive to caffeine. So I would get whatever the drink was, whatever. So I'm a caramel latte type of guy. Instead of the 3 shots or the 4 shots, I'd only ask for 1. Right. So it's still the big size, but without the extra rocket fuel, because I need to be able to sleep at night. And it's not a good routine to get in where you're like, oh, I'm gonna have coffee in the morning and then make sure I have alcohol at night. It's balancing those uppers and the downers. That's not good. That's not a good place to be, because that also affects your sleep, like how deep your sleep can get. And I'm a huge fan of dreams and a prolific dreamer, so that's really important to me, to be able to have dreams, recall the dreams, and not just be shocked out of bed with the alarm clock goes off. So the routine would be the cutoff for coffee typically is 10 a.m. So the earlier, the better. That's when I would do it. So that awesome window of between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. is fantastic, just in terms of me and how I live my life, to have that caffeine and then to be able to fall asleep naturally later at night. That's a sweet window. Let's see. The next thing was knowing that I was going to say the first meal would be 4 p.m., between 4 and 5 p.m., and just have that window. I don't want to make it too strict if you've never heard of OMAD, but it would be to have that one meal, that only meal, around dinner time. So if you want to have early dinner, say 4 or 5, stick with that. Or say, I'm going to have this full meal at dinner time and have the allowance for a snack, so your body's not coming at your kidneys aren't working and you're going to the bathroom all night, right? Getting up to go to the bathroom all night. So this is what worked for me. And because of that, given the whole circumstance, and I'm gonna assume that everyone who's listening to this had listened to the previous 2 episodes to know what I'm talking about for saying 8-week goal, and then not thinking that I hit the goal, and then weighing myself accurately and seeing that I had lost 10 pounds and not the 5 pounds that were projected. So, you know what? This is a free form storytelling, so I'll just take my time. In my estimation, the best way to really assess if a diet or a lifestyle, gym lifestyle is working for you is to test it for 6 to 8 weeks and take copious amounts of notes and even record yourself how you feel after a workout or fasting or just pushing yourself, whatever the exercise is, because that's something you could say I can incorporate for the long term and not just reap the benefits of a short-term lifestyle shock and then gain the weight back. Pardon. So the last one that I had done was to get back to that new standard of 235 pounds because I'd gotten so messed up from last year, right? Visiting my man's wedding in Pittsburgh. That's for you, Alma. For my man's wedding in Pittsburgh, and then visiting my parents, and then hanging out with old friends, and then doing all the stuff that got me out of shape, or I should say, were major holiday again, right? So more so than ever, I have to have those parameters and say, okay, this is what I'm getting myself into. I already see on the calendar the parties that are stacked up, the events that are stacked up, the get-togethers that are stacked up. I know there's going to be traveling involved, right? All right, so then how can I prepare? How can I meal prep? Oh, am I doing one meal a day? Well, mentally prepare for that, because when people say, oh, hey, have a cookie, have a donut, have some pizza, have whatever this caloric dense but not nutrient rich snack is, I'm gonna have to say no or walk away. And so there's no problem lying in that situation. I would easily just say, I just ate. Oh, I'm stuffed. Soon, or someone else is gonna just ask. So that whole situation of knowing helps you not cave to whatever it is. And especially when you start to see the results, that's usually enough to walk away from the situation. You could be a hermit and just say, you know what, I'm not going to any of these parties. Then that's very, very Scrooge-like, and no one wants to hang out with that person, right? So one thing that I definitely noticed was a lot of times people don't really have a healthy option at these parties, right? It's pasta, pizza, cakes, pies, everything across the board in terms of desserts. But then the meat source is dense red meat for the one meal a day for these things. So the best way, or I say I'm a fan of doing it this way, of bring the meat to the party, and then also bring a salad. Everyone's bringing chips, everyone's bringing cookies, everyone's bringing alcohol, candy canes till they're coming out of your ears, right? But what are you gonna do, right? How badly do you want it? For me, I'm not trying to do these 8 weeks pushing myself so hard to hit the standard and have to continue having that like this endless loop of getting out of shape, getting into shape, off season, in season. I'd rather be in shape all the time without having to do much maintenance. And that's very realistic if you've hit that goal, and now it's just how you live your life. I don't want to live OMAD, the one meal a day. Oh, I can probably do this 2 more times and I'd be at my next mile marker, which is 225. And then say, because there's less pressure on the joints and there's there's less weight to pull and push and carry around, I can probably go a further distance for these sprints. And that brings up the next thing is sprint training. I am a huge fan. You're looking at these runners and you can see the difference between someone who runs a marathon or ultra running compared with people who do sprints, right? Compare all the Kenyan, Ethiopian marathon winners or finalists and winners to Usain Bolt. And in stamina, while Usain Bolt is going for explosive speed and just that burst of energy for a very short distance. And you can see the effect, especially in men, because of testosterone that gets spiked from doing such a powerful movement all the time, right? So if you combine that with one meal a day, that's going to be a fat torching remedy for the holidays. So yeah, Alma, I hope that answers your questions, but I'll still go deeper in it, right? So the one thing that I wanted to get into that's a really serious topic, especially in my world, is talking about my mess, like the backstory that got me to 100 pounds, right? Or I should say 335 pounds. And I know it's not going to be an easy topic for a lot of people taking this in. So proceed with caution, right? Oh, this is the last chance to just turn it off before I spill the frijoles, spill the beans and all this, right? So I had mentioned previously that I had a nervous breakdown and was hospitalized for it. So I can tell you all about Horsham Clinic, tell you all about Northtown Building 50, not a great place, right? And that's the worst case scenario for having pushed yourself psychologically, physically, emotionally, and not having the proper outlet for it, right? So the consequence of being inpatient and going outpatient is the medication that you get put on, right? So the first that it happens, it's like a guinea pig situation. Oh, let's see about Topamax. Let's see about Risperdal. Let's see about all this other stuff. And the consequence of those psychiatric drugs is that it makes you very tired and almost impossible to wake up. And then when you finally start to get going and you're functioning, it's time to go to bed, right? So the other unforeseen consequence of candy flipping those meds is that you gain weight. And so to be more forthright about the ugliness in my life and the trauma that I've been through 4 times was to say that was added with not exercising, not getting not enough sleep, and then just being stressed out. Right? It's they actually call it the devil's cocktail. Right? It's adrenaline, having that fight or flight response constantly acts. So it was like a very manic look to it. But that happens when you don't come out of the fight or flight response, right? So if that's constantly peaked, then you're bound to break down, right? Excuse me. I felt like the Chocolate Rain video from the first generation YouTube when my man's covered the mic so you wouldn't hear him breathe. That's what that was. So if you are not seeing the video of this, that reference will probably be lost on you. But the whole thing that I'm getting at is showing a little bit of ugliness of the things that I've been through, and then saying my mess is also my story. So it's not people don't know who I am, or we just walk by or know each other casually in a very acquaintance. Yeah, absolutely no idea that I've seen the insides of a psychiatric hospital multiple times, but then it's a redemption story where, because I learned my lesson from that, I heard what God was saying about, hey, take care of yourself, listen to your body, know when enough is enough. You can't just carry all this stuff yourself. Delegate, reach out to friends, say, hey, things aren't going well. And just like an example from Brother Job, Old Testament, so all the friends need to do is just listen. They don't have to give their input. Just listen and sit in the muck and the mire with me while I unravel what led up to this, right? So, yeah, this is just one of those situations where to be more forthright and be more transparent about some of the ugliness from the past, I'll tell you right here. And if you want to talk about it, I'll gladly talk about it. If you don't, we can move to the next topic. But I figure any physical, for any body type, any weight loss goal, whether it's 5 pounds, 15 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds or more, this is that area of needing to address the past so you can learn a new way of doing things and go beyond what you thought was possible. And this is where that motivation comes in, because I know, especially on YouTube, when you see fitness motivation and the thumbnail and you see the before and after, you're like, oh, wow, that one person looks insanely in shape. They look like they won some bodybuilding competitions. They probably did. Or it doesn't even, I don't know if that's Photoshopped. Is that a real person, or is that a marble statue? Well, how do I get like that? Well, it's possible for anyone to look like that. But the level of dedication and discipline is what's going to be beyond what anyone else has done and what they're probably doing. And this is a little Easter egg for the future. When Alexandria comes on the show, she looks like that. She's like one of those people who had lost a ton of weight and looks like a cross-training dual athlete in their prime. And then you would have never have known what she looked like beforehand. So I can't wait to pick her brain on that. And I have a couple other guests that are stacked up for doing the podcast who you're going to say, whoa, I can't believe this person made such a change. And all these things didn't happen overnight, right? So the whole thing to what is possible for the given circumstances and adjust and then learn along the way. So you grow. As you're growing, you're learning, because if you don't learn as you grow, you're bound to repeat it. And in my world, it happened 4 times, and would not want this for anyone. So it's more of a thing to say. In those days, don't follow what I did. The younger, more immature, thinking I'm going to live forever, reckless way. But instead, I've learned from those very, very traumatic episodes to adjust, recalibrate. So this is the long haul. This is really the long haul. There's a consequence for doing it the fast way. That's why I don't ever recommend steroids to anyone. But instead, say slow and steady wins the race. That's a fable, Aesop's fable, that everyone can take to heart, because it's showing you something in terms of perseverance, in terms of grit, in terms of resilience that we can all apply to our lives. What I've seen is that sometimes you don't want to apply it. Instead, you're like, oh, I'm an outlier. I'm different than anyone else who came before me. And when you see any of these reels, especially reels, like, how long is a reel? A minute or less, typically, right? Somewhere like 15 seconds. That is what the equivalent to a selfie. Excuse me. A selfie that you take, and then you just make assumptions that the person was born like that. They're just genetic anomalies. Oh, they're gifted. They come from a family of superheroes. No. If you were to hear those podcasts, right now, I'll add my 2 pennies to the pot. It's not always the same. And what I look like now, I hope next year I'm slightly better than I was right now. And the year after that, I hope I'm slightly better than that, right? And who knows? We look back in the archives 10 years from now, say we're, I don't know, 200 episodes deep. You'd be able to oh man, this is why I'm so glad I brought notes. Oh, by the way, as you might notice, I'm here by myself. Alicia had stepped away, and Kike was busy with homework and work and family stuff. So I figured, oh yeah, I can talk by myself, which is not a problem. But the whole video aspect was what was new to the equation. So yeah, this is what you see is the studio in the background, and this is what it's like when we're recording, and it's no edits, right? This is uncut, this is real. So we're just talking here. Well, all right. So the whole thing is, oh man, I just realized again about saying so. You know what? Leave a comment, mark it, keep a tally mark, and then make sure you say it in whatever episode I'm writing, how many times I said it. Right. The recap of going deeper is to paint the picture of the reality of a fitness journey. And yeah, there's not a fast way about it. This is going to be the long haul, and you're going to have to constantly remind yourself why you're doing it. The whole point of saying you versus you is the metaphor that hits me the most in terms of saying there's the old version of myself trending to 235 and then has the next goal in mind when I hit 235. If I am coming in at 240 pounds and I push myself, especially when everyone's taking a break, there'll be exponential gains set up for 2024, right? That's the whole testament of thinking that I only lost 5 pounds and then said, oh, I hadn't been going to the gym like I'd been going to the gym. I changed what I was eating to just one meal a day, just for a short period. You know, there's always the refueling part. And then doing sets of 50 push-ups and going for 10-minute walks every time I eat. Man, note to self, don't drink seltzer water before you record. The next is, once you go through, reassess, review the numbers, review how you felt, and then say, am I able to do this again? Even if I have to take 2 weeks off or a month off, just to reset my mind, reset my heart, reset my drive, let my body reset and recover. Or, you know what, that wasn't quite for me. Let's see if there's something else that I can do. If that's the case, go for it. And I'm a huge fan. That's why doing OMAD, one meal a day for 30 days leading up to Christmas, is going to be me pushing it pretty hard, right? I know not all body types or more, that might not be for you, because your body needs to match up to the push and the strain that you're about to go into. And so the healthy thing to do is to really be attuned to what's going on if you're just starting out and going extreme. Just to reiterate, I don't recommend that. What I would recommend is making that pattern of weight loss consistent and then pushing it. This is hardly a game, right? This is a serious situation, and everyone's circumstances is different. So if it's not a David Goggins situation, right? I'm always going to mention him because that's maybe arguably one of my top motivational speakers, let alone human beings, let alone icons of color that are living legends right now. He had lost 100 pounds in, was it 3 months or 4 months? It was definitely south of half of a year, but he had done it and was beyond extreme. So it was a form of OMAD. He had like this meager plate of like a chicken breast, a couple veggies, and like a scoop of rice. And he did that for those 3 months, those 3 or 4 months, and had lost 100 pounds. So that's not ideal if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. Right? There's not too many professions that could handle that unless the person has extreme tunnel vision on what that goal is. And that's the thing that makes me most attracted to David Goggins and his style of perseverance is scope set on what that goal is, your body falls in line pretty quickly. It's that moment where when you don't listen, you get in trouble. That's why I'm telling the skeletons of my closet, right? Just airing it out. And you know what? Nothing to be ashamed of, because that's the reality of it. I didn't listen, got spanked, and then learned. And learning from it is how I wised up. That's how I was able to listen to what God was saying in terms of these life lessons, in order to observe my circumstances and then make those changes, make those adjustments. And that's the golden nuggets of getting wiser. It's applying that knowledge, and not just, oh, hey, I have a bunch of theory. Oh, I have a bunch of things that I think work, but then we become the craft. Trusty notepad. Keep it old school. Lansdale Catholic in the house, right? All right. So this, once again, is not a pity party at all. Don't even feel bad. But it's more of a, let me show you how to overcome. Right? We watch all these movies. Watch Rudy. Watch Rocky. Watch Creed. You see the stakes that are set. And when that person overcomes it, you feel like you went through a journey with a friend. Now, how great would it be to say you have a journey? Oh, let's say the saying is everyone has one book in them, because it's the story of whatever they went through to get to where they are. And I want it to be a good story with a great ending, right? Oh, he went through all this stuff and was not jaded. And mental stress and ugly stuff. And yet still has a smile on his face and still able to look people in the eye. It's not like, about to have this psychotic episode. No, because I wised up when the wind started to blow and the rain started to fall, the volcanoes were going off. No, I was cool as a cucumber, right? So yeah, this is a moment of being able to live that future self as if it were in the present, and then completely kill that old self. The old. St. Paul says the old man is dead. New life is here. That's what I see. Right? When I skip the gym and I'm not doing the push-ups, not doing the 10-minute walks, the 335-pound version of myself saying, no, you keep resting and taking it easy. I'm getting myself to the gym. I have the gym, my emergency gym bag, sneakers going, shirts going, compression shorts going, gym, everything to go and have no excuse. At the worst case scenario, I'm going to go for extra walks and do more push-ups. And this is like the elevation of the card game. If anyone's listening, I hope this is not the first episode that someone's hearing, right? If it is, I'd say at least listen to the pilot episode first and then move forward at any order you want to go. I'm sure after a while it's going to be like, oh, there's this huge catalog of episodes, and there's the whole point. That's why I have these guests. But the whole thing is, in terms of exposing some of the things that aren't pretty about my life from the past, is to say no one has an excuse. Absolutely no excuse. I'm definitely more sympathetic for someone who is pregnant or handicapped. That's still that's part of the obstacle that's unique to your situation. You can say, oh, despite me losing a leg or being blind, I lost a ton of weight and got in shape, right? Oh, you know what? I do have a baby on the way. It's all you women out there, right? I do have a baby on the way, but I'm still able to adjust, and I'm not just craving to whatever those cravings are. But that's that blew my mind was seeing the that marathon runner who, I forget her name. Man, that's one thing I got to take notes on, is for these references, so everyone here who listens can look them up. I'm sure if you just Google pregnant marathon runner Wonder Woman outfit, you can see this finalist who ran a marathon pregnant, all top it off in a Wonder Woman outfit. And it's incredible, because that's the story of someone who didn't use a very legitimate excuse and then still outperformed a bunch of other people, right? So that's those are the stories that get me going, right? The thing, especially with runners, but I mean it applies across the board, are what it looks like when the camera's not rolling, right? When people aren't interviewing you, it's not that glamorous. Matter of fact, it's boring or just painful, right? It's not great having bland food because you're very strict on your caloric intake. It's not great getting up at 3:45 in the morning to be in the gym because you have a packed day and have to go through all this traffic, right? It's very mundane, very humdrum. And matter of fact, it's a situation where you're like, oh, if I did that, I'd probably have less happiness in my life. Yeah, you would, because it's not fun. It's challenging. This is part and parcel why not everyone looks like LeBron James, give or take a couple feet, right? No, there's a level of push and drive and self-motivation that is tuned in on what that goal looks like and refuses to settle for less. So I want to be more like that, and it's very possible. Okay? This is me telling you, warts and all, that in 4 years you can lose 100 pounds. These all of these things should be proceeded with caution, right? Talk to your physician, talk to your health practitioner, talk to your family about what works, what shouldn't I do, what is too extreme. Slow and steady wins the race, so you can make small adjustments along the way, and in a couple of years, you will be a far cry away from where you are now. Me, I'm a huge fan of saying, I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to set my face like flint to have that resolve, and I'm going to do it no matter what. In a moment of transit, but then still be aware of what's possible now. My man's David Goggins is doing these insane workouts in the hotel as he goes on these conferences. So to me, I'm like, whoa. When I get to the hotel, I just want to kick off my shoes, lay on the bed, and just have some show playing in the background and just zone out. Right? Get a meal and a rest and recover for whatever the next leg of the journey is. But he was like, no. I'm putting on my shorts, doing push-ups galore, doing flutter kicks galore, doing variations on those exercises until he starts to break a sweat, and then beyond that, looks at the time, takes a shower, gets dressed, goes to the event that he's speaking at, comes back, goes to bed, goes to the next place, does the same thing. I'm like, wow, that's like a breakneck pace. Oh, that's very demanding. You don't have to. So that's my take on it for right now. And pardon the tissue. This is I think the worst thing to do, especially if you only have the audio, is all of a sudden you don't see the visuals and I just sneeze real hard, right? I don't want to blow out your eardrums. I don't want to make you on edge, whether there's going to be some huge outburst that destroys my headphones or car system. So yeah, here we go. All right. Say you I'll paint the scenario for you. Getting 8 hours of sleep a night, overworked, probably overcaffeinated. Where do you start? Where do you go? Where do you see yourself? What do you think is possible? Why do this? Is your life working for you right now? Oh, I wanna look like a certain physique. Well, what does that person, what does that body type, what do they do and how do they train? Where are you at right now? If you are able to bridge the gap between wanting to do the least amount of work for the highest payout, what does that look like? There has to be a strategy, right? There has to be a game plan, or it just becomes a pipe dream. Go find motivation. I don't know how you do it, where you go to, but there is a plethora of information out there about people who've overcome. YouTube it, right? You could type in gym motivation, weight loss. How do I lose weight? How do I start a gym routine? If you find someone that you resonate with you, and it's not me, good. Go hang out with them, see what their life is like. The whole thing is taking away their strategy and applying it to your life. Me, I can tell you what actually, I'll say it even easier than that. I can show you what worked for me, and I can explain it step by step for wherever you're at. And commenting on social media, sharing it on social media, that really says, okay, I can't take a Thursday off. Man, maybe I shouldn't say the day I record, for my haters out there who are like, oh, I'm gonna make sure I just bug him a lot on Thursday so he's thrown off his game and doesn't record. No, it wouldn't. That actually is a ridiculous scenario that wouldn't work, because my phone's on silent on Thursday and I'm not gonna be answering people's stuff when I record. And just to throw a little monkey wrench in their fictional scenario throwing me off, sometimes I record on other days of the week in the same week. So take that fictional doomsday scenario. All right. Going to the gym for 45 minutes a day, being on the same level of brushing your teeth. Wow, this is something I do every day. I don't even think if I want to or not. This is what the routine looks like. Okay. Hold that. Designated your time where you don't think about anyone else except for your physical health. 2 hours before you set your alarm clock to get up. Right? Let's say you get up at 7:30 a.m. What if you got up at 5:30 a.m.? Try it out. Imagine saying, oh, you know what? I don't want to burn myself out with how intense that schedule is at 5:30 in the morning. Why don't you just wake up, try it for it's a pattern, and don't work out that hard. Just say, okay, I now am getting up at 5:30 a.m. every day for 8 weeks. You don't have to do it for the rest of your life. Just try it out. See where you go. I'm willing to bet on week 3, you try harder than you were doing it before. We'll say instead of going at a jog, instead of going at a walking pace, you go at a jog for even when it comes to the weights. Not doing that much weight. You're walking for 20 minutes on the treadmill, then lifting weights, but you're not doing it to win a prize or to push yourself harder. It's just to get in that pattern. All right. Week 8, you push yourself and say, I'm going to break a sweat. Record what happened. Like actually, when you're done working out, each of these days, okay, this is what it looks like. This is what's changed. This is how I hear myself. Do it again. 8 weeks, 5:30 a.m. and say, I'm going in now with this pattern. This is what it looks like when I pull up to the gym. This is what it looks like when I walk in. This is what it's like when I put my stuff in the locker. This is what it looks like when I get on my favorite whenever I get on my favorite machine. This is my elliptical, right? How does that feel to push harder? Right. So now instead of just having the mindset of, oh, I'm walking and at least it's movement, to no, I'm jogging with intent for these 30 minutes. Get funky. Interval train, low intensity training, do high intensity training, do some sprints, do some hills, do some just flat walking on elliptical. Right? Do it at 50%. Record yourself when you're done working out. Grab your phone, open up a little voice file, record it. How do you feel? At the end of those 8 weeks, assess it. How did it go? Did you lose weight? Did you gain weight? Did you probably felt a little bit more sore than normal, but your body actually was getting used to it in those 8 weeks, right? Okay, well now, try again. Take a week off. Do whatever you want to do. Eat however you want to eat. After those 2 weeks, go at it again, but say, I'm sticking between 75% and 90%. I've learned don't go hard all the time. Don't go 100%, especially on cardio. Feel. Oh, you were pushing it on those weights too. Oh, were you working out with someone? Did you just grab someone for a spot? Did you not go for a spot? I'm a huge fan of not being spotted at the gym because it makes it more high stakes in terms of there's danger in lifting weights. That's probably the reason why a lot of people are intimidated, because you could get hurt. I'd made that joke about dying at the gym on the bench press. Yeah, I actually wouldn't want that ever. And if it did happen, pray for my soul. But the whole thing would be, there is an ever-present danger at the gym. Right? That's part of the allure. Right? If you are lifting, but you're wise, you have that mind-muscle connection, and you're warm, you can actually handle a lot more weight than you think you can. I think the issue that happens, especially when you get older, is you say, I don't want to get hurt here. And it brings a smile to my face, because if you know what you're doing and you've been doing it for a regular amount of time, you should listen if your body's creaking or get strained. You probably just need to fix that imbalance. Right? Maybe it's your posture, like turning your neck like this, right? Whatever the case is, if there's a more dominant side, train that other side a little bit more, warm up to get that connection, and then push it. Because I found the moment that you're warmed up at the gym, and for me, it's when I break a sweat from doing whatever the cardio is, when I stretch and my heart rate's up, I can handle a lot. My knees don't crack, my hips don't crack, my back doesn't crack. But if I go in cold, that's when the air of still thinking you can do with the stuff that you did in high school. I'm 37. I can't do that. I'm like, why I got time for that? I'm not trying to take a couple weeks off because I was in the headspace of an 18-year-old. No, far from it. Oh, wow, it was 20 years ago. Right? Here I am, finishing the sparkling soda water that I said I wouldn't drink. Here I am. Yeah, life, the duality of life. Right? I'm a hypocrite sometimes. Now, there's always space for something delicious that bears little consequences. There's going to be sugar in it. Serving size 8.4 fluid ounces. That's what this looks like. Fluid ounces. Right? 90 calories. There's 15 milligrams of sodium, which is only 1% of the daily value that the average person takes in. 21 grams of carbohydrates. So it's 8% of your daily intake. 19 grams of total sugar. That's problematic. There's vitamin C, niacin, vitamin B6. Okay, let's see the fine print. Citric acid, natural flavor, clarified clementine juice, so it's heavy on the citrus side, gum arabic, acerola juice concentrate, beta carotene. All right, man, this is not good. All right, so having reassessed this, I can see why it's so delicious, right? But this is not something that I would be taking in regularly. Not only because it's 90 calories in a drink, but there's a ton of sugar in it. So 19 grams of sugar that might be the average day worth for healthy living. 20 grams. I don't have the stripes to talk about having done the no sugar. Was that a whole 30? But I can tell you this: 20 grams is a ton of sugar. But compared to the average person's diet, this is nothing new under the sun. Right? This is a little bit less than half of a soda, high fructose corn syrup, which I think is the devil. Don't avoid it at all costs, or at least as much as you can. And the benefit of drinking this does not quite match up if you're watching your macros. So if you're going into deficit, calories in need to be less than calories burned, you could afford this on a cheat day, right? I need to express once again, when it comes to drinking your own calories, or at least say drinking your own calories, if you want to keep it as low as possible. So it's mostly water, it's tea, kombucha, from fermented tea, but then watching not just how many calories are in it, but how much sugar is in it, right? So imagine that's your new status quo, 20 grams of sugar. You would only be able to afford 1 gram of sugar after drinking one of these in 24 hours, right? And that's, brace yourself. It's not fun, but it's not about the fun part. It's about what you're able to do in 8 weeks. You can find a great alternative, and one of the most readily available one is some hot water, a little bit of salt, so a little healthy tonic right there, and is great for actually hydrating yourself, right? If you if you drink only water, you're bound to just strip out all the salt that's in your system, and that leads to ashiness, dry skin, chapped lips, not your skin not being able to recover as well as possible from if you get a scrape or an injury, right? And so, the first year into losing weight, I didn't know that, so I was dehydrated a ton and started to have pain in the back. Didn't realize it was the kidneys saying, "Help! Don't do this. This is painful," right? So the equilibrium being set of saying, how do I stay hydrated and not get dehydrated, might have to do with the stuff that you're taking in. For your consideration, I would urge you to see what works for you, and then say, okay, where can I make that adjustment? I'm a huge fan of the One Coffee. So you can put your parameters down a bit with that, because it's your caffeine fix, right? A little bit of a dopamine boost, a little shot of happiness, but not do the whipped cream, not do the seasonal blah 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 all the time. Right? Go for it. You don't have to be an extremist. You can have it, say, once. I know it's fall when all that pumpkin stuff comes out. Right? Then have one if that's what you're into. This is the skin. Where are you gonna push? So with dessert, instead of having dessert at every meal, have dessert once a meal, or once a day. If you're learning that new habit of not eating dessert at every meal, skip certain days where you don't have any dessert. And half of it is just saying no when people offer to you, right? And the person, in my experience, has never just offered once. This is actually what they were talking about in the DARE program, right? Like, just say no, just say no, just say no. Well, the reality is you all of a sudden become the center of attention when you say no, because people just aren't used to hearing it. But there's power in saying no. And half that power is from knowing why you're saying. Right. Well, if I'm gonna always go back to this, if people question you, you can say, Dave Woods said I should say no. He'd probably say you're gonna peer pressure me into doing this, which is true, is what's going on right now. And he's not a huge fan of you trying to pressure him and pressure you into doing these sabotage techniques for whatever you're going for in the gym. That's up to you. Okay. That was a lot to take in. Just let that mellow while I look at my notes. I don't think I've ever talked about the marshmallow experiment. If I did, brace yourself, you're gonna hear it again. The study goes that there was a test of willpower. I wanted to see it. Is there a correlation between the willpower that you have as a kid? Does it indicate anything later in life? So they get a bunch of kids. I think they're, I don't know, between 6 and 8 years old, and they bring them into a room and they say, "Here's the deal. I can give you one marshmallow now. You can have it, or if you wait 10 minutes, I'll give you a whole bag of these marshmallows." Those are the terms and conditions. Here you go. They leave them in the room and they have the marshmallow. experiment is now over. Oh, hey, where's more marshmallows? No, you don't get those marshmallows. Though the bag of marshmallows is for those who can wait the 10 minutes to have it. They look at the kids that were able to survive the 10 minutes of the marshmallow in front of them, and those kids came up with multiple ways to not be fixated on the marshmallow. Some put their heads down, some covered their eyes, some turned around, right? They turned the chair around or counting the tiles on the ceiling for the 10 minutes. And that was an indication of not just willpower, but delayed gratification. And that are you able to delay that later? And it was shocking what the results were, that those people who were able to say no, those kids that were able to say no, had like 98% less of addiction issues, 98% less of having a criminal record, 98% more likely to be entrepreneurs and CEOs of companies, and not more than beyond upstanding citizens, right? It was what leaders are made of, right? This is what healthy men and women of society were made of. So that's something that to take away. And the next thing is, and let me always talk about this book to my lady, of talk in a digital age. This should be mandatory reading. She said that when the studies were shown, the average person can only last 6 minutes without looking at their phone. Right? That's not bode well for society, especially these Gen Zers, right? It's the people who don't know what it's like before Wi-Fi. They've always just had smart devices. It is I'll tell you why it's concerning, but how it also applies to your gym technique and gym strategy is the empathy factor, right? Being able to read someone's face. You should be able to know if someone's sad, if they're happy, if something's bothering them. Do they feel like talking? Do they not feel like talking? This is the new indicator. Just have your headphones on. That means we don't feel like talking, right? But the thing that she was getting at is, if you don't have empathy and you're not able to read other people, not able to read their body language, you're not going to be able to read your own. Right? So if you are uncomfortable with silence, it's an indicator that you're not good at conversation with someone else, let alone yourself. It's most important to be able to talk to yourself in the silence. And that's actually what this is about. But the moment you say, "Oh, I'm bored," that means your soul's asleep. It means you're boring and you're looking for that stimulation. You're looking for that marshmallow, right? And we find it in our pocket because of the phones, right? So the whole kicker right there is saying, in order to realize majority of the problems out there, and I really mean most issues, name whatever what's the word I'm looking for? Just blanked. Name whatever domain there's a problem in. It might have to do with the lack of self-reflection and the lack of the power to relate to someone who's not you. Mostly in a stranger, right? So I missed, many apologies to everyone listening. I missed the whole part of the experiment, because if you haven't read the book, you probably have no idea what that frame of reference is for reclaiming conversations. They did this experiment where it had to do with silence and not looking at your phone. All the people who are interviewed, who signed up for this interview, said, the experimenter said, "We're going to give you an option if you get bored, to shock yourself. Right? We're going to be here for 15 minutes. And instead of calling it quits, if you get bored, you can administer to yourself a shock. Right? 100% of the people in the experiment said, no, we don't want that as an option. Right? So hold that. Within 6 minutes on average, most of the people said, hey, can we bring back that option to shock ourselves? Right? Within 15 minutes, majority of the people electric shocks to themselves to not be bored and be left with their own thoughts. Let that percolate. People would rather shock themselves, administer pain to themselves, than to be left to their own thoughts for 15 minutes. You take both those experiments to heart. The marshmallow delayed gratification, and then the being alone with your own thoughts. Put them together. What do you got? Bippity boppity boop. In terms of just being able to empathize, it would behoove all of us to listen to our own thoughts in the quiet so that we can walk through the things that are not great, but then go wherever our mind takes us. As a friend of Jesus, as a believer, you could spend that time praying, asking God about those areas that come up. Oh man, why did this person from my past just come into my mind? Right? Oh, what's your last impression? What do you think of them? How are they doing? Right? Instead of reaching to your phone to text or call them, ask God about it. Ask the Holy Spirit. Ask your guardian angel. I think majority of us probably don't hang out with our guardian angel much. Your guardian angel has waited for you since the foundation of time just to hang out. Right? It's a ministering angel. Ask the guardian angel about the person that came to mind. Hey, angel, thank you for always being here. And ask Jesus what inspired that thought of that person, and helps in conversation. It helps get to the heart of matters. It also helps you be authentic with people. Me telling you about 4 extremely traumatic moments of having a nervous breakdown, they didn't just come out of nowhere. It's because I didn't have the tools to do analysis, self-analysis on myself, to see where I went wrong and then what it led to within those circumstances, right? Up until recently, something I never talked about. The way the older generations didn't talk about war, that's how I talked about being hospitalized, right? But then doing that self-reflection, said, you know what? Let me just air out some of the stuff that's not pretty. And it is true. There is a taboo nature about talking about psychiatric breakdowns, but the whole thing is because people don't talk about it. The more we talk about it, the more it becomes something that is able to be addressed as a wound, but then the wound can heal, and then you can move forward, and then you can overcome it, and then talk about it, right? Like, there's a reason why I can tell you about it and I don't start crying, right? There's a reason why I can tell you about it and I don't feel any shamed, right? The shame is that I didn't learn the first time, or the second time, or the third time, right? That's where that was on me, right? So the whole situation goes like this. If you're able to see the benefit and the sacrifice and not caving to instant gratification, you'll have this monstrous payout in the end. Like those are exponential gains right there. 5 years ago, weighing 335, I would not have even fathomed having a podcast about the gym. I probably would have said, oh yeah, I can tell you about lifting heavy, dirty bulk, right? Well, this wasn't a dirty bulk. It was just eating whatever I want and also lifting heavy. But this type of learning about myself has had the unseen consequence of wanting to be a better person, right? I had mentioned before that I never knew my biological father, and as a boy, I was like, okay, well, I didn't grasp the impact that but then it was, oh, how do I become, what's the ideal man to me, right? Now, let me see what my friends are doing. I'm gonna emulate that. Oh, what do I see on TV? What's the music that I listen to? I want to be like them, right? Then having good mentors and saying, oh, I've got counsel there. That's how I can apply it to my life. One day, I hope to be a married man, a father. I have enough right now. Then, lo and behold, Catalina's here. I'm like, whoa, that happened sooner than I expected. Oh, wait a second, I'm not married. Oh, well, good thing people have been having kids since Adam and Eve. And so it's not anything new under the sun being a parent. The whole scenario of what that means as a lot of death to self, a lot of self-sacrificing for the life and good of this new being who was not here without your help, right? And so that was intense. Actually, I would say it was the most intense thing that had ever happened in terms of life experience. Then it was also a huge relief in terms of the reality of it. What I mean is, being a parent it's kind of like just turning on a light switch, right? It's not saying I know everything. I'm not the best I'm not the perfect parent or anything. You know, this was the moment of saying stand or fall, sink or swim. All right. For me, I was like, it wasn't even a thing. That's why you see me acting silly cutting the umbilical cord of baby girl, because I'm like, oh yeah, this. Had that extra layer of scare, that extra layer of crisis, right? I mean, coming out of that helped everyone bond, right? That's part of their story. So now it's saying, okay, if I could go back, no, I don't like that question. It'd be, if I knew the circumstances of November 2023, how can I prepare for the future, the next thing that happens, right? No. Especially if it's something physical, I'm like, oh, I'm ready for it. I can only imagine what curveball is going to come my way, but I'll have the headspace to say, this is what I've been through already. This is what I'm doing currently. Oh, this is just one more road to cross. Big shout out to my man DMX, rest in peace. The whole thing now is saying the learning that happens when you say no, and you have boundaries, you put up the parameters about how you're going to live your life. That's the goodness of growing because you're standing for something. And that's the whole modus operandi behind this podcast, especially whether there's guests or no guests, whether it's me talking or me talking with a bunch of people. It's coming to a point where you say, something's got to give. I'm fed up with how this is, and I know it can be different. What what does David Goggins have that I don't have? Let me hear a story. Whoa, Can't Hurt Me. I can't believe that story. Never Finished. How's there a follow-up? Well, of course there's a follow-up. This guy didn't just, it's not a one-hit wonder with overcoming issues, right? I swear by that book. So maybe, that's an idea for the next podcast, is come up with some book recommendations that y'all can check out. And right now, I definitely would say Can't Hurt Me, Never Finished, and then from Dr. food for thought to take in and apply to your life. I think just off the top of the dome, say As a Man Thinketh. Go check that out. And The Power of Habit. That's a good one. Then Scripture. I think when it comes to the Bible, especially currently, either people say, oh, I want to see what this is all about, or one day I'll get to it, but it's not on my list of books. And for me, it's on a higher level than just saying a book to read. This is a book to dissect, take apart, and be challenged by, because there are a bunch of things that are counterintuitive, countercultural. But if you say, why does this bother me so much? I don't like this part. That's probably a better reason to look at it. So I'm not thinking of like a controversial scripture, but in terms of things that have worked, go through the book of Proverbs and see if those apply, right? It's almost like reading Aesop's Fables. You read it, well, that's another book to add to the list, Aesop's Fables. Black guy, that's Ethiopian, that's Aesop, who wrote that. So I say that just because the historical relevance, and then also it's a contribution to the world in terms of parables and stories that believer. The book of Proverbs is something that you can sit down and have a good time with, and not be like, oh, you know what? I don't care what the scriptures say, because I have whatever preconceived notions about it. And say, try it, read it. It's only 31 chapters, and it's not like today's standard chapter. Right? A chapter might only be 30 verses. Like that's like one page of a book. So yeah, that's on my to-do list, is to make a journal entry just through the book of Proverbs and saying ones I liked, ones I didn't like, why, who did this remind me of? Does it remind me of myself? Does it remind me of a neighbor? Does it remind me of an ex? Does it remind me of my parents, grandparents, whatever it would be, right? And just have that as the quiet time of talking with God and being challenged by his word. I think you'll have to see it for yourself. If you're incredulous, go see for yourself. If you don't like it, that's the one you can say, Dave Woods made a bad recommendation. I don't think it's funny when he says James Woods. They look nothing alike. Or do we? Okay, so where do I want to go? I think this was a self-revelatory moment of saying how to have a conversation to an invisible audience without having a guest speaker. How to get comfortable seeing yourself, a reflection in real time, recording, and then this is an exercise in public speaking, right? Right. Oh man. I hope Alma I hope you're listening to this all the way through, because you're going to be referenced a bunch of times. Thank you for leaving that question. The grand scheme of things is the key thing to hold on to for your question. What is going on for Thanksgiving? Well, let's back up. For Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day. What's the grand scheme have to do with where you're at right now? And then how you prepare for that. If you know that the hours of the gym change, take that into consideration. If you know you have the most energy in the morning and like to work out then you probably delay it later on. It should be stacked in your favor to go to the gym early and not go later. If you know you feel much better about yourself because you went to the gym and then you're drinking 5 Izzy's, right? That'd be much better than having the desire to go, knowing that you should go, not doing it, and then having endless Izzy's, right? So that's what I gotta say on it. I don't think the topic is exhausted at all yet, so I'll just keep going with these notes. Little stream of conscience moment right now. The timer is 1 hour 21 minutes of speaking. I wonder if I can set a record for Imago Day of solo podcast that is still bringing that heat about good advice, tips and tricks, how to lose 100 pounds, anywhere, any amount of weight, and staying motivated, and not just being purely stream of conscience. I guess you can say, don't try and beat that. But no, it's not a challenge. It's you versus you. It's you versus you. But speaking of which, just in case this is your first episode, I did the 8-week challenge of going to the gym, having the strategy, and saying I need to lose between 1.5 and 2.5 pounds a week, and I'm golden. And then I thought I had only lost 5 pounds because I didn't weigh myself because there was a little bit of delay because of a move. And then going into it with all resolve, but then Murphy's Law just hit me left and right, and weighing myself, and it was 240 pounds. So I had lost 10 pounds, which is 66% there, which is astronomical compared to not doing anything at all. That, my friends, is the whole point of saying your old self of default mode, not doing anything, versus you having a plan, plotted a course of action, and then are getting after it and are living it for 8 weeks. The pitfall from the past, like last year was not a long time ago by any stretch of the imagination, was me saying, I can kick back and rest on my laurels because I'm here for the holidays, I'm visiting family, friends, I'm going to work out when I can, but it'll probably be like, when I was 21 and was running 5 miles a day. And a big shout out to Sandy Rago and Joe Digger, Eric Sinitsky, Mike Finch, and Bosa Mora, Nick Ryan, Randy Gouzier, my guy Randy, when we would eat 2 gigantic burritos from Qdoba and then still be able to walk around like that. That is a folly from our youth that if we tried it now, I bet you we'd get sick. I have a feeling, well, one, I would throw up. Not on purpose. I'd be so bloated with the goodness that I would not be able to handle it from sheer force of not being able to contain it anymore. But then also, I have to look up to see if they're still in business. I hope they are, because That place is near and dear to my heart. But I digress. I digress pretty dangerously. Okay, you versus you. Your old self is constantly waiting, and it's making gentle suggestions to just take it easy. What's your new self say? If you were to push yourself for 8-week sprints, or I say 8-week intervals, you'll be surprised at what you can do. So I will swear by that, most likely till the end of my life, that if you are brand new, if you are a novice to intermediate to pro, push yourself for 8 weeks at whatever that standard is. Don't look at anyone else. Say, what can I do for 8 weeks? I know this lady who will remain unnamed, and what she would do is get really motivated. She'll plot the course of action, and she would start with a fast. And she would fast for 3 days to a week, and then go into the gym routine. When I first heard that, I said, that doesn't sound wise. And then, lo and behold, would get worse than before. So after only having water for 3 days to a week, and then starting a gym routine, would fail after about a week, and then go back to how she was living before. That type of stretch of bouncing from extreme to extreme exacerbates the problem. So my little fix would say to fast. Definitely fast going into it, just to reset your body for what you're to do. It'll help clear not just you physically, but mentally empty yourself out in terms of being prepared for what you're about to get into. One thing that people don't realize about fasting is that you need to reset almost immediately, because your body just, I don't want to say warble. I don't think warble is the right word. Your body needs to be refueled and reset for the demands that are going to be coming up. And if you skip that, it'll just be a gorge fest, right? It'll be a cheat day, which will set you back. So one thing that I love to do is have an acai bowl. And I know not everyone lives in California, so it'll be a little bit of a delicacy in some places that are not having high demand for super nutrient dense food from the Amazon, right? But they definitely have frozen acai at grocery stores. I've seen them back in Philly, right? So the whole thing is to set the gut right. You clear it out by fasting, but then you help it to heal and recalibrate for the new demands. So that means refueling, rehydrating. Acai bowl, mango, dates. Dates are great for setting the bowels, right? For help heal the skin, for help you just be able to absorb the nutrients that your body craves. And then say, okay, here it goes from the physical to the mental. The mental is, I've now set it up to be able to handle 8 weeks. Go for it. If you are new to this, do your research, right? I will pontificate about these aspects, but without having done some serious brainstorming about aspects that I haven't touched yet, I'd say always err on the safe side of doing the research. Like, oh, you heard this idea, research it, see what the internet has said, go to the library, get a book on it. If you don't want to do that, download the Audible. If you don't want to do that, I should say, do all of those things and then talk to someone who did it. Ask them what their experience is. Or two about fasting, right? So talk with someone who's done it and see if there's What's the benefit? Play the devil's advocate. What are the pros and cons of fasting? If you're using it for a physical endeavor, do the research and hear from all different sorts of people about it, and then try it yourself, right? One day of fasting is not going to hurt you, right? I don't recommend 7 days unless you're doing some like super stringent liver detox and kidney flush. But the whole thing is not to fall into the trap of zeal without knowledge, right? Zeal without knowledge is not good, and he who acts hastily falls into trouble. You don't want to be that person who falls into trouble. New Year's resolutions are coming up. So what do you want? Do you want to learn a new skill? You want to learn how to get your Bruce Lee on and learn the nunchucks so you can be you can show that flair, and coordination. Actually, it really helps with reflexes too. Oh, well, say, I want to learn nunchucks. Write it down, tell a friend, get some nunchucks, and make some nunchucks if you have to, right? Look at some YouTube videos. That's actually how I did it. Looked at some YouTube videos and just started practicing for 10 minutes a day, right? What was great about that was Chinatown's right here, right? When I got they call them the baby chucks, right? It's nunchucks that have padding on them, so you don't hurt yourself with either the wood or the metal ones that are the professional ones for people who practice martial arts. You get the baby chucks. Just doing the warm-ups, and it focuses you purposely. Because if you mess up, you get hurt, right? You're not going to be able to do that and type a text message. Right? Hit yourself in the eye. You'll lose an eye. Or if you're a guy, it'll be worse, right? Hit the wrong place. Might need that later. So the whole thing that I'm getting at is that practice of you have something that is potentially dangerous that goes where you point it, right? You hold the nunchuck, it goes where your thumb is pointing. You have 3 points of contact. What do they call it? Oh man, Jerome the homie, Jerome Resurrection. Where you at for this one? Head. I think it's face. Yeah, it's face, elbow, kneecap. Those are the 3 points that you'd aim for. And so you'd say, if you do a slash movement, head, right? But you want to visualize where the head is, throw it that way. If you're going for the elbow, aim for the elbow. Going for the knee, right? Those are very precise points. All those movements, whether you're going left to right, slashing up, or cutting down, or slashing up, those are the points that you'd be aiming for. It makes you concentrate to be accurate for where that strike is, right? That applies to just learning a new skill. First, you might not have ever thought about learning the nunchucks. That's fine. But it'd be something that is different. Say, I want to learn the nunchucks. Oh, do you have nunchucks? Go get some. Don't know first thing about nunchucks besides Bruce Lee? Oh, watch some YouTube videos. Oh, learn a little bit about the history of the nunchucks, and you'll see over time there's some growth in learning. And now you're like, oh, I'm not going to be able to defend my house if someone breaks in. But after a while, even with baby chucks, you would be able to defend yourself if someone came in. And what's really dope about baby nunchucks, they look real. So if you're flipping them all around, you're making them whistle, right? Someone comes in your house, they're probably gonna turn tail and get out of there. You've been practicing head, elbow, knee. You get hit, even with a baby nunchuck, that person's probably gonna change their demeanor. And if you have been practicing, we'll say even just for 2 months, 20 minutes a day, you've sectioned out that time where you're going to do it. If you hit someone in the throat with nunchucks, even baby nunchucks, they're going to reassess their life. My man's Mike Tyson says everyone has a plan until they get hit in the face. And it's true. So, yeah, that's once again my 2 pennies on just a skill that you could use for a New Year's resolution. But the most important part is being accountable. So tell someone that you're practicing, and then follow up with them. Well, how's it going? If you practice just for a little bit, you will be way better than if you had not practiced for any time at all and just theory. Proofing your holiday game plan is saying, what are you getting yourself into? How do you prepare for it? When it comes to the food, what are you going to be eating? How much of it are you going to be having? When are you going to be eating? I'm doing OMAD, so I know 1 meal a day, and I'll have a little wiggle room to say something else in there, like we'll say snack, we'll say half meal of whatever that 1 meal was, just to stay sane and not just be hangry all the time. The actual great side effect of recalibrating your body and doing 1 meal a day is it's actually not that bad after a while. You get used to it, and then your body starts to put into gear everything that was not being moved, everything that was not being used. So I know, especially with ladies, they say they want to do spot reduction, right? You want to work on their arms, their love handles, thigh, whatever it may be. A good shock to the system is doing one meal a day, only for a certain amount of time, just to reset yourself psychologically and physically, and then say, okay, how can I stimulate that area that has fat or is what not so aesthetically pleasing? If you do pull-ups, you do real pull-ups, your body snaps into shape real fast. If that's the area you don't like, well, all of a sudden you're holding your body weight, and then moving through that range of motion. That's an area that was not being moved. That's why there's fat there, right? It's the areas that are heavier. That's where the fat stores are, and that ranges from whatever your genetic makeup is. But if you want to have that bang for the buck, try saying, "Oh, I want to work up to a pull-up, but in 8 weeks, I want to be able to do more than what I was able to do the first day at the gym," right? And you're probably talking to the wrong guy about this, because I'm a huge fan of pull-ups, is instead of doing the pull-up assist, do it with bands. You buy those elastic bands, right? A lot of times you see ladies, they wrap their knees with it, and they're doing the side shuffle, right? Or just, I think they're even called booty bands, right? I didn't come up with that title, so don't get mad at me. Get mad at James. They have larger bands than that you can wrap around the handle, and then you slip your knees in, and that's the pull-up assist on the real pull. But the reason why I'm a fan of that is because it's the most realistic in terms of the real life application of what muscles get used and how to use them. All right. So we just went over the food situation. Do you know what you're eating? Prepare for it. Do you know what food's going to be present when you show up? You can bring your own food. Right? Provide it as a plate for everyone else to eat. Right? When are you eating? Are there parameters around it? You're not doing the OMAD diet, then what does it look like? Is it 3 meals a day? Is it 5 meals a day? Do you know what you're eating? Are you keeping track of calories? You don't have to be stringent about it. What's the range of calories? Not every sport's the same. Not every exercise is the same. This goes back to the track, a Usain Bolt versus someone who's a marathon runner. Those caloric needs are not the same. All right. The next, we'll handle the mentally prepared. Do you have your goal? Do you have that vision? Do you have that vision board? Did you write it out? Okay. If you did, what's the plan? You have set the timer for 8 weeks. What are you able to handle in 8 weeks? What's your motivation? Who inspires you? It could be anyone. I recommend at least 2 people that inspire you. Say it's there's always this guy at the gym who has the physique that I wanna have. I don't really know this person. Well, ask them what their workout is. How do they sleep? How do they recover? What do they eat? What do they do? Where are they at in their journey? Right? It doesn't have to be some weird thing. Like, it's not like a flirtatious thing. It's like saying, hey, whoa, I admire what you're doing, man. Where do I start? Where did you begin? How do I implement that in my world? Okay, then mark that as that's one person who motivates. That person's always there at the gym. Whoa, okay, I can be disciplined like that too. Who is a famous person who does it? For me, it's David Goggins, but then you can also say Rocky Balboa, Michael B. Jordan, right? Name it. Go across the board. I think that's part of the allure of these sports movies, right? Is seeing what was on the line, how much are they willing to fight for it, right? Okay, in real life, Mike Tyson, right? Did you ever see when he was doing this as a teenager, right? I was like, whoa, this dude up at 3 a.m. ran 3 to 5 miles, then would do a little bit of a at-home workout, eat. Actually, I don't think he ate. I think he went straight to school, go to school, then he would leave, he would eat, then do homework, recover, and then he'd be at the gym at night. And that's how he lived his life, in season and out of season. That's his whole high school life looked like that. Oh, I shouldn't even say that. It's like from 7th grade to when he became a pro. Granted, it's an extreme situation because when he was 13 years old, he got confused for being an 18-year-old. So this is not the same genetic makeup of most people. But in terms of the resolve, or a mark on any of the bad stuff. So this is learning from someone else's example, seeing what they did that you can glean and apply it to your life. Cool. So now you're motivated. When you're not motivated, it's going back to those examples. Oh, how did Mike Tyson do it? How did that dude at the gym who I asked how he did it? What's their example set? How can I adjust it in my life? Because when you get motivated, it's easier to stay motivated, right? The second you're not motivated, change your mood, get motivated. Look at those examples. You don't have to say, well, who can I find to emulate? Because you already have them set. Maybe it's someone in your family, right? Look at their life. They're consistent. Why? How? Oh, that's because that's the life. All right. The next thing is the gym. Are you going to the gym? Are you training outside? Are you training at home? Training in a hotel? Are you traveling? Are you hosting? Those things need to be brought into consideration because you're not going to be caught unaware. You know what to do. I told you all about the card game where you're assigning exercises to the suit, and then whatever the suit is, you're doing those exercises plus 12. Well, in that case, you always have a game plan for what to do if you're not at the gym. What are the hours at the gym? They shift a bit. Apply that understanding that it shifts and not be surprised. Not gonna be caught unaware from it. All right. So I guess that's a little bit of the full gamut of how to prepare season to get off track for the holidays. And that's where we're ended. I'll say these are the keys that work for me. I can only give you the key. You have to open the door, walk through it yourself. I can't do it. It's you versus you.